Legends, this is our latest video in our Mission Possible video series and our mini series of Fire. This one is Be Your Own Bank and Infinite Banking. Let's begin. All right, since you decided to accept the mission, here's the mission in brief. Time for some action. NFA. Meet your host. What is BYOB or Infinite Banking? A Q&A. There's the Infinite Bank Audit Guide, Infinite Banking Cycle. We're going to go over that. There's some skits in here with some additional information, contact information for your host, as well as some recommended reading. Now, time for some action. Well, Houston, we have a major problem. And speaking to the legends, I already know that the legends already understand the assignment and understand the mission. They always stay ready. They don't get ready. So I'm just going to leave it at that. I'm ready to engage. All right. So like I said, Houston, we had a problem. So what I did, I reached out to my buddy Hassani. I've known him since 2019. We are in a mentorship together, which we've had, like I said, we've been in since 2019. And he is not some just fly-by-night person. I was like, well, let me see if I can find anybody to do it. I knew exactly who I needed to reach out to provide this information to the legends. So a little bit of background on Hassani. He's been in the insurance industry for 15 years plus. He takes care of clients and as well as training other agents. He is a connoisseur of IPA, which is income producing assets. We'll see that later on in the presentation. And as well, he is the author and creator of Spend the Same Dollar Twice. That is a video course he did on Infinite Banking. I'm trying to get a discount code for the legends because I think right now it's like $400 or $500 or something like that. So, I'm trying to get a major discount for the legends. As well, he has his bachelor's degree in business management, and he is the CEO of Awali Enterprises. So, like I said, I didn't get some fly-by-night person to bring the legends information because I couldn't do it because this is not in my lane. I can talk about firing and retiring early because I did that. I can talk about relocating and moving overseas because I did that. I can talk about budgeting overseas because I did that. So this was infinite banking and being your own bank. This was not my lane, so I brought in a pro. All right, so enough about all of that. Let's go. Here we are.
Legacy 7 Funding Group. Well, what's going on, y'all? Or should I say legends? This is Hassani Houston, or Mr. Spend the Same Dollar Twice. And I'm reaching out to you because number one thing we got to do is I want you to know how special Mike Lane is for y'all, because I have not put together a free series for anybody. But the reason why I did it for Mike is because of a couple of reasons. Let me tell you. Number one, because of what he stands for. Number two, because he was so adamant about making sure that he could deliver on information for you all that I just said, okay, he just influenced me. And number three, he's just a good guy. We created a great relationship and he's a good friend. So we were able to put something together special for everybody. And for those of you who don't know who I am, what I do is I work in the life insurance industry, but I've shown people how to learn about the life side of life insurance. What do I mean by that? I show you how to combine life insurance with estate planning. I show you how to combine life insurance with acquiring businesses. But most importantly, I show you how to spend the same dollar twice by leveraging your life insurance. By the way, I know that sounds a little crazy because you're like, all my life I've been told life insurance is just good so that when I pass away, my family benefits. And I'm here to tell you that it's time for us to change your belief patterns because there's something else that wealthy people do that they're just not sharing with you. All right. So thank you very much for tuning in. I look forward to hearing from you. If you have any questions, I provided my information with Mike, so you'll be able to click on the link and get access to me and my team. But in the meantime, enjoy the series, be willing to learn, keep an open mind, and keep your notes and pens close by. All right. Talk to you later. All right, y'all. So as you guys can see here, like I said, this is Infinite Banking Concepts. My Instagram is at HZHouston12. So go ahead and follow me on Instagram, and we're going to get this thing rocking. But let's jump into it. So basically, in order for you to understand infinite banking, you got to change your mindset. You got to understand from this point forward, you are now the bank. You are no longer the customer of the bank. You are the bank. So because of that, you have to start thinking like the bank in reference to leveraging money, in reference to borrowing money. And this is important because in order to get infinite banking correct, you got to start thinking different. For example, if you don't think like the bank, if I told you to borrow money from yourself, you're going to think that's crazy. But now, because you think like the bank, that's completely different. Now, everybody's heard the example I've used before, where if you place $100,000 in the bank, is that an asset or a liability to the bank? We all know that's a liability now. What's more important is, what does the bank do with that money? The bank will take that $100,000 in the account and loan it to someone else and charge them 10% while they pay you 1%. That's called positive arbitrage, where they're paying 1% and charging 10% to make 9%. Our focus with infinite banking is to put you in the position of the bank, so now you make that positive arbitrage and you make that 9%. Okay, so that's the first thing that we wanted to think about when it comes to infinite banking. And then the second thing is compound interest. We were all taught that with compound interest is based on how our money can grow. But the thing that they don't tell us is our money has to be uninterrupted. The two biggest forms of interruption of our money: lose your money in the stock market and user withdrawals. So in order for infinite banking to work, it has to be in a product, or it has to be in some kind of vehicle that will protect you from market loss, and it would also allow you to not spend the principal. And the last but not least, you got to make sure you could get a competitive rate of return to keep up with inflation, or beat it, I should say. So those are the things that you want to keep in mind. And we already talked about the difference between an asset and a liability as described by Robert Kiyosaki. And basically what that is an asset adds money to your pocket, a liability takes money from your pocket. So that's the way you want to think about that. All right. So, and just to make sure we're recapping for these, this is for the new folks that don't know what infinite banking is. Traditionally speaking, what happens is when you have your money in an account, you have 100,000, you borrow 30, you have 70,000 left. But with infinite banking, you have 100,000 in an account, you borrow 30, but you still have 100 grand left. And not only do you still have 100 grand, but that 100 grand is still earning interest. Compound interest mindset. Y'all getting it, right? So you never spend your principal and it's still earning, even though you have $30,000 cash in your hand. Now, here's the power in that. In recession proof, we know how to flip money. We know how to make money from our money. So based on that, what if you go flip some property or go flip a business and you make 10, 12, 30, 40, 50% at the same time while your money's still in the account, your 100 grand still in the account, earning interest? That's the power of infinite banking. Earning interest on the same dollar in two different places at the same damn time. All right, next. So with that being said, with us thinking like the banks, we want to make sure that we understand the banks are FDIC insured. So that means they insure their money. So if we're going to be thinking like the banks, then that means we need to get insured, right? Now, the difference is the banks will only insure you up to $250,000, whereas most people didn't know you could work directly with an insurance company and you can get insured dollar for dollar. Now, for those people who don't believe that's true or don't believe that's actually secure, let's check this out. So there's some concepts at the bottom of the screen called BOLI and COLI. BOLI stands for bank-owned life insurance. Check this out. So these are some major banks. I'm sure you've had some accounts with them before, but look at this. Bank of America, Wells Fargo, all these banks have over $56 billion worth of assets in life insurance, but they never offered you that type of account, right? Now, what's even more interesting is, and you can check this on the FDIC.gov website, all the money that's listed in life insurance assets is considered tier 1 capital, which is what? The safest capital a bank can have. So with that concept in mind, what we want to do is make sure that we can do the same thing when it comes to our money. So if we're going to be the bank, then we need to get our money insured just like the bank does. Are you with me on that? All right, say yes. So With that in mind, so we have something called bank-owned life insurance, which is BOLI. And then on the right side, on my right side, we also have something called COLI, which stands for corporate-owned life insurance. I have a very important question for you. Do you have any LLCs or corporations? Do you plan on that business making money someday? Over a quarter million or $500,000 or seven figures or even eight figures? Well, did you know that your corporation can own a life insurance contract on its employees, and it could designate who or specify which executive they want to have that income or want to have that plan, and it doesn't have to be balanced between everybody. It could be biased. So in other words, if you want to give it to a special person in the company, which also could be you, if you want to give it to a special person within the company, well, you could do that. In contrast with traditional 401k plans that companies offer, they can't just offer it to one person, they have to offer it to everybody. So when you have a plan like this, you're structuring it where you have flexibility. Infinite banking, I'm talking about. So that's the other concept with COLI. So just real quick, you guys, want to make sure that we're recapping on what this is because we're coming to the end of this session. What is infinite banking? Basically, infinite banking is a concept, not a product. Okay? Infinite banking is a concept, not a product. And the concept of infinite banking is we could leverage insurance companies to spend the same dollar twice, or we could leverage insurance companies to earn interest on the same dollar twice. So then once we understand that, like we talked about earlier, recapping, we have to have the right mindset because we're now the bank. We're no longer the customer. We have to think with a banking mindset. We have to think with a compound interest mindset. And we understand that even though we're borrowing against our account, the principal is still intact and it's still earning interest. And because we're also thinking like the bank, that means we want to be insured like the bank is insured. We want to insure our money like the bank insures their money. So, with that being said, y'all, that's the end of this session. Let's get ready for the next session. All right. All right, y'all. So now we're at the part. So we talked about what infinite banking was. What is the concept? So now we're going to talk about how it works and how to fund it. All right, so let's get into that. Remember, whenever you're talking about infinite banking concept, it's all about the structure and funding. And that's why we're diving into it now. All right. So basically, traditionally with infinite banking, you usually hear about it with something called whole life, right? And the reason why a lot of people do it with whole life is because you get a guaranteed interest rate plus dividends. And so you also get access to your money pretty soon. It's almost like a liquid account. If it's set up right with mutual companies, you can put your money in and you can access it within 30 days or less, right? So that's usually what people do with a whole life company. Again, it's guaranteed returns, usually about 3 to 4%, and then dividends that can range between 4 to 6% on top of that. So that means on average or at best, you're looking at about 10%. Now, some companies might do better, but generally speaking, at best, 10%. I go against the grain a little bit. I'm going to let y'all know this up front. I teach people infinite banking with IULs. And the reason why I teach people what infinite banking with IULs is because there's more customization, in my opinion, about how you could put the plan together, how you could fund the plan, and how fast you could fund it. But most importantly, you could control the cost and get more interest on your dollar. Let me show you how. So when you're looking at this, generally speaking, when you put your money inside of an index universal life plan, you're going to put your money in the account and it's going to utilize an indexing strategy. What that represents is you see these arrows where the money's going up, and then when the market goes up, it's basically reflecting the stock market. So when the market goes up, you're going to earn with the market. But when the market falls, your account's going to lock in that value, guarantee you don't lose a dime. That goes back to what we were saying earlier. You now have insurance on your money. You're acting like the bank. So you're following an index. When the market goes up, you earn with the market. When the market falls, your account locks in that value, guarantees you don't lose a dime. But then when the market goes back up, you earn with the market again. Now, most people are going to hate on an IUL and tell you, but you're capped at 10 to 12%. Now, that's true for most mediocre companies. But what happens is when you're working with some of the top-notch companies out there like myself, and that doesn't mean me, but I'm working with multiple companies. I'm a broker that works with multiple companies. And because of that, we can offer people solutions with no cap. What does that mean? That means the market takes home 40%, 50%, 60%. You get to take that home. So that's why that's powerful. You would never see that kind of return in a whole life, right? But the trade-off is not as liquid, right? With a whole life, you can access your money within 30 days, no questions asked, no problem, so on and so forth. With an index universal life, you're probably going to take 30 to 90 days. Most companies are going to be a year, but some good companies are going to do 30 to 90 days, right? So that's the difference. But we're going to put your money in this account. And once your money's in this account, this becomes the bank of you. Now, when your money's in the bank of you, you're also protected from tax liens, bankruptcies, malpractices, judgments, lawsuits, in some states, divorces. It differs from state to state, so you want to make sure you check the estate laws in your state, wherever you're at. But the main thing is you are protected by having your money inside of insurance. In addition to that, the other thing is you are working with the IRS. Now, what do I mean by that? What I mean by that is you actually have your money in this account, and there's 3 IRC codes that are in your favor. Tax code number 17702, which is what allows you to pull your money out tax-free. The 72E is what allows your money to grow tax-free. And 101A is what allows you to award your beneficiaries tax-free. Now, the reason why that's important is because, traditionally speaking, even though you could name a beneficiary for your 401k and your IRAs and things of that nature, it doesn't mean it avoids probate. Very important to understand. So that's pretty powerful. So there's no gray area you're working with when it comes to working with insurance. It's all white and black because there are tax laws that basically support this, and they've been in place since taxes. So 1913. So you got that on your side. So again, we're going back to the fact that you are parking your money inside of the bank of you, and that roof is you working with insurance companies, and it protects you from creditors and predators and everybody else. But more importantly, your family's protected in case you were to pass away. You're protected from taxation because of IRC codes, and you're protected from market risk because you have insurance on your money. Then on the left-hand side over here, you could customize your bank, whether it be for protection, emergency, retirement, college funds, or just making it a bank. And then, of course, it'll average over the last 30 years over 9.25%. But we just tell people expect 6 to 7 because we'd rather underpromise and overdeliver. So this is the structure of an IUL, generally speaking. But now let's talk about the funding of it. You got to understand the language so you know how to benefit. When you're dealing with any insurance agent and they're getting ready to open up your infinite bank. Now, mind you, I'm licensed. I've been in the game for a minute. I can do this for you as well. So I show my clients this so they know they're not getting ripped off. Because you know how sometimes, folks be telling, oh, I got you, I'm hooking you up. But then late at night, you sitting down and you're like, did they really hook me up or did I get got? This is how you can know if you really got got. There's a phrase called target. Okay, you see target right here? That is your commitment. So with your commitment, anything that's over your target is extra cash for your bank. Anything that's below your target, that's all bad for your bank. So remember this rhyme. Fund in the green, your bank is a money machine. Fund in the yellow, your bank is mellow. But if you fund in the red, your bank is dead. So now understanding that, check this out. Let's give an example. Let's say that you want to fund your infinite bank at 100 grand a year. Well, the rookie's going to sit there and tell you, okay, let's make your 100 grand the target. Well, if you make your 100 grand the target, where does that land in the heat map? Well, you're in the orange or something. So how much money are you going to make on that? Not that much. So what a professional will do is they'll say, okay, if you want to put away 100 grand a year, we're going to make your 100 grand the max. And because we're making it the max, that means you're committed to, let's say, 20,000 or something lower, right? So now you're able to put in that 100 grand. And based on that, because your 100 grand's in the green, now you're making money. Now you're making money. Now, the rule is if you're going to do it like that, make sure you find, so the idea is commit low, fund high. Commit low, fund high. But remember this too. You got to find a happy medium and a balance, because if you set your target at an extremely low number, so let's say, well, Sonny, make my target $100 a month, and I'll just put in 100 grand a year. You can't do that, because if you set your target at 100 grand a month, $100 a month, then the max you'll be able to put in is, let's say, 700 a month. So now you can't put in 100 grand. So that's why you got to find that balance. And all this happened because people abused that back in the day. Back in the 80s, people were literally doing that, putting 100, 200, 300, 400, $500,000 in the account, but they were only getting like $50,000 worth of insurance. So the commitment was like $100 or $200 or $300 a month. So the tax laws or the Congress had to get involved. They changed the laws. So now you have to meet the standards of proper insurance in order to meet the standards of, or in order to receive the tax-free benefits. So I'm going to say that again. You have to meet the standards of what they call insurance in order to receive the tax-free benefits. So that's why you can't just set it at a ridiculous level. It has to be reasonably insured, right? So, but when you're working with an agent, you ain't got to worry about that. That's just a little history lesson for you, just so you can understand. So now when you understand this, then the question becomes, okay, how much do I want to contribute? How can I benefit from it? So now with that being mentioned, the next phase is funding. We'll talk about that. All right, so now let's talk about funding. Okay, y'all, so basically, once you understand how to structure or the strategy of your funding, then here's a method of your funding. And that's basically understanding monthly or annual, front load, and max fund. So monthly is like a long-term strategy. You're going to pay into it every month just like you would a 401k or something else. Whereas with front load, that's where you're going to do the monthly or annual strategy, but then you're also going to dump in a lump sum on top of that. Now that is like adding gasoline to the fire or turbo to your car. So it's going to give you a boost to help you get a lot more done a lot faster. This helps you get in the yellow or the green, right? Max fund, this is where, based on how you design your policy, you always have a standard, and from that standard, you have a maximum and a floor. What max fund means is you're contributing a maximum, and you do that for 3, 5, or 7 years, and you never have to contribute again. You never have to contribute again. So this is huge, because if you have the money to do it, it's a pretty good plan. By the way, it's a short-term plan, because you can access your money within 1 year or more, depending on how you want to strategize it. But then with monthly, usually that's a long-term plan, 10 plus years, with depending on how much you're putting in and how much you're going over target. The amount you go over target determines how fast you can access your money. Then when you have front load, that could be considered a 10 plus year strategy, unless you're putting in a significant amount up front to overfund whatever that target is, and then you can get access within your first year. So that's how you manipulate that to be the best benefit for you. But let's show you some examples of this with some numbers. So this is a 40-year-old male saving $2,000 a month. He's in average health, and as you guys can see, so that's $24,000 a year. And circle number 2 shows that he would have access to 15,000 of the 24,000 that he put in. So a lot of times what I tell people is, think of infinite banking like a secured credit card, but with interest for you, right? So now with that in mind, what ends up happening is, okay, so he gets access to 15 of the 24,000. He's not going to get access to the full 24, because remember, he's still at risk to the insurance company, because if he were to pass away, they have to pay out 1.3 million. So because of that, they're going to keep some of that locked up so he doesn't touch everything. Okay. Now, but as time goes on, circle number 4 shows in 15 years, he'll have $425,000 that he could leverage. Now, in between time, between circle number 2 and circle number 4, any of that money is touchable that can be leveraged, right? But more importantly, once you're done and you want to hang up them cleats and you say, okay, I did everything I could do, I did everything I was supposed to do, now I want to go ahead and call it quits. Well, then your account could set up and pay you like a pension. And in this case, this man's getting paid $95,000 a year tax-free. So that's pretty awesome. That's pretty good. Now, but that's monthly, okay? Check out what happens if we have the exact same account, but now we turn to a front load where we add an additional lump sum on top of that. Check it out. So everything else is the same age, same guy, same contributions, all that good stuff. But now he's putting in an additional $20,000. And you see that in circle number 1 where it's 44 instead of 24. Then look how much more money he gets access to. 34 instead of 15. Now that's not just because he put in more money, but you'll see later it's a bigger percentage of what he put in. And then in circle number 4, he has $462,000, which is a $40,000 difference from the original $425,000, right? So this shows that the power of compound interest, when you start with more money, it'll grow into larger amounts that you didn't even contribute, right? And then, of course, when it comes to retirement, you're looking at a $6,000 increase per year, tax-free. Powerful. Powerful. Now, all that is cool. So now you saw monthly. Then you just saw front load. Now let me show you max fund. So with max fund, again, same age, same health, based on the policy for $2,000 a month, which is 24 grand a year, but now the maximum is $90,000. So now this guy's putting in $90,000 a year, but as you can see, he only does it for 5 years and he never contributes again. And based on him never contributing again, check this out. Even though he put in 90, he has access to almost 80. And then even though he put in 90 after 5 years, what does it still do? It keeps growing. In fact, in year 15, he has almost double the amount of what he would have had in the first 2 examples, right? Not only that, in circle number 5, he gets a $21,000 increase of $116,000 a year tax-free compared to the first 2 examples, right? So that's pretty powerful, but now let's look at these side by side. So basically what you're going to notice is a trend. The trend is the more money you put in above your target and upfront, the sooner you get access to your funds, the bigger the benefit on the back end. Again, the more money you put in upfront and above your target, the sooner you get access to your funds and the bigger the benefit on the back end. So now when you look at this, you want to think, okay, what do I want to use this for? Is it real estate investing, right? Do I want to do fix and flips? Okay, based on that, what's my timeline? And then you choose a proper situation for you. Oh, I just want to do this for retirement. Choose a proper situation for you. You know what? I got a lump sum of cash sitting over here. I want to make sure that I can put all my money in and do what I need to do. So now you're customizing your infinite bank specifically for what you want to accomplish. Because the most important part about an infinite bank is deciding why you want it. That's the part that everybody overlooks. Okay, so that's what I wanted to show you here. Now let's go back to something else right quick. So as you guys can see, the inner workings of it is everybody always asks Hassani, how do they get those? How are you able to do the thing where if I have money, I can borrow against it and it's still there? Easy. So now let's say this guy has $742,000. He wants to borrow $700,000. You know what happens? He calls the insurance company and says, "Yo, I want my $700,000." They're going to say, "Okay, we'll send it over to you in 3 to 5 business days via wire." That's it. He fills out a page of paperwork just to confirm that it's him, but he doesn't have to qualify for the money, doesn't have to justify why he wants the money, doesn't have to go through a credit check, doesn't have to go through collateral. All he has to do is notify them. They send the money right over. Then from there, question, he had $742,000 in his account. Now he has $700,000 cash in his hand. How much is left in his account? If you said anything other than $742,000, you're wrong. It's $742,000 still left in his account, even though he has $700,000 cash. Why? Because the insurance company gave him the $700,000 cash via loan because he has the cash in his account already. He's good for it. So generally, they're going to charge about 5%. If you start seeing people that's going to charge 6, 7, 8, 9%, 6 maybe, but 7, 8, 9%, that's too much. It defeats the purpose of infinite banking. So when you're getting with companies, check what the loan rate is, and if it's too high, don't do it. But here's my point. So now the companies that we work with, they charge about 5%. Now, here's the concept. 5% on 700,000 is whatever that number is. But the concept is if you have a bad year, the 5% that you earn on 742,000 is still bigger than the 5% on 700,000. So essentially, the account should take care of itself. But what I teach and what recession proof does, what recession proof banking, right? We know how to flip money. So when you borrow your money, that means you're going to borrow your money to go and get an asset, an income producing asset. So whether that's Turo, whether that's real estate, whether that's an online business, whatever it is, you're going to go purchase an asset that's going to make you money. So now, here's a question everybody asks. Now you have a loan. Well, when do I have to pay that back? Well, the truth of the matter is, if you're the bank, when would you require you to pay yourself back? Trick question, because the answer is whenever. So basically what that means is, check it out. You have the ability to choose if you want to pay yourself back. Now, I recommend you do, but you have the ability to choose. Now, why is this powerful? Where do most people fail? Where do most people stress out? Because of the timeline and the deadline of paying loans back that someone else owes them, and then they go under stress and they claim bankruptcy because now someone's trying to claim all their assets. That doesn't happen here. You're not going to do that to yourself, are you? Because remember, you're the bank. So now with that in mind, you set the terms on when you pay yourself back. If you don't pay yourself back, then what happens is, in this case, let's say the 700,000 you don't pay it back. Well, then when you pass away, the insurance company is going to take the 700,000 plus interest from your $1.8 million death benefit. The remainder goes to your family, right? So that's one of the things that you want to make sure that you understand. You want to make sure you understand that you don't have to, although I recommend it, because think of it this way. If $742,000 is still earning interest and then you pay yourself back, that means you're making money. You see where that's going? That's powerful. Okay. So now with that in mind, you understand the inner workings, you understand the numbers of it. So what you want to do is make sure you put yourself in a position where you can understand how to benefit from it. Now, once you get into these accounts, I'm a little biased. I'm going to show you some IUL statements. Once you get into these accounts, but here's the thing. You can't take pictures of this. You can't show it to nobody on social media because it's private info. We're just doing this because it's a course. Check it out. Once you start putting your money in these type of accounts, you can start averaging 15%, right? Well, excuse me. We're telling people 6 to 7 because we rather under promise and over deliver. But I think we beat our promise here with 15%. That's pretty good. Now, I have some accounts that show 8 or 9%. That's still pretty good too. But this one also says 26%. What is the difference? The difference is how they structured their account and where they place their money. You see where it has this pie right here? So we show people how to do that, right? But then there's also these times where the market falls and we go through a recession and the market bottoms out. Well, you know what my clients love? They love when that happens because in their account, it can reset. So when the market goes back up, you're earning with the market, so you take all that profit home. That's what you see here with this client. And as you can see here, it says 1 year what? No cap. And what is that interest that they earned? 61.3%. Now, let me also be fair and tell you, as good as this seems, this is not an everyday occurrence. This only happened because the market fell and they took the returns on that market. The reason why I'm showing you this, though, is because it's possible. This doesn't mean it's guaranteed to happen to you, although we can say that we're probably going to have a market failure coming up soon. The main thing is you just need to know what's possible, okay? But what's the catch to all this? As good as it seems, there has to be a catch, right? Absolutely. Number one, we're dealing with life insurance. So because we're dealing with life insurance, you still have to qualify for it, and that's based off your age and your health. So you have to be insurable, right? In our community, we all know where folks have high blood pressure, heart disease, kidney failure, all these type of horrible things. Well, we got to make sure that we can qualify for this on the insurance portion through age and health. Now, the other thing is we got to do something called an insurable need. An insurable need. And we'll get into more detail about that a little bit later. But the other thing I tell people is stick to your plan to minimize bad outcomes. What do I mean by that? Don't say you're going to open up an infinite bank for flipping houses and then you pay for your child to go to college. Well, that's a one-way street and that's debt. So you don't get that money back. Now it's not going to work, right? So instead of using the one that you were going to use to flip houses to pay for college, open up one for college. Now you're good, right? The other thing is with infinite banking, especially with the IULs, also whole life too, usually the returns are annual, not daily, annual. This is a general assessment. There might be some companies that have some special things that go on, but overall, generally, annual statements. All right. So what does that mean? When the market does something funny, you don't go to your account and be like, oh, I need a change, I need a panic. You don't need to worry about all that, right? So that's where that comes into play. And then last but not least, if you don't get your policy through us, which I recommend, but you don't have to, but I recommend it. If you don't get your policy through us, you must make sure that your policy is designed correctly. And the way you do that is based on what we talked about earlier. And then I'll show you how you can get a free copy of the Do-It-Yourself Infinite Bank Audit Guide. But with that being said, y'all, these are the main things that that you need to know about. And the last thing that I can mention on that is, what if you don't qualify? Well, there are ways that you can still qualify, or that you can still get an infinite bank without you personally qualifying for it. You can technically get insurance on other people and be the owner. And because you're the owner, you control the cash. Now, in order for that to happen, though, there has to be an insurable need. In other words, is it somebody that's dependent over you? I mean, that's dependent of you, or is there a business relationship? So, in other words, it can't be your nephew or your niece without describing an insurable intent. Where what that means is, if your nephew is actively dependent upon you because their parents aren't around, or if your nephew's in business with you, so now they have a business relationship, insurable intent. All right. So these are things that you got to think about. And so when it comes down to qualifying for a plan, check it out. All you got to do is find a financial professional like myself and my team. So I have a whole team that helps me with creating these plans. And more importantly, you want to go ahead and decide, why do you want this plan, and then plan how much you're going to put into it. Okay. So once you decide why you want it, and then you plan how much you're going to put into it, then go ahead and decide the number of years of contributions. That's based on whether you're going to choose the monthly, the front load, or the max fund. And then you're going to go through the qualification process. What is a qualification process? That's basically where you see a nurse and they give you a free physical, and then it's going to take 30 to 90 days to see if you qualify. Then after that, if you qualify, then they take the initial deposit. So that's what that looks like. And so once you go through the qualification process, you fund. Simple as that. Now, here's some other good news. Let's say you choose monthly initially, but then you come across a lump sum of money because you sold a business or something like that. Well, then you could switch to a front load or a max fund. Or let's say you want to start out as a max fund, but something happened and you need to switch to monthly. You do have the ability to switch in between, right? You do have the ability to switch in between. So I want to make sure I mention that to everybody and let them know how that will work. But for now, that ends this section. Next section, we're going to be talking about how to make money with infinite banking. So don't forget to tune into the next piece. Don't miss out on this next piece, because now that you got all this information, now you need to know how to apply it and how you can make money from it. That's where we're going to have some. All right.